Robotics League. I am so excited for this season. I don't know if anyone else was vibing in chat with the Super Mario music that was playing. I was definitely grooving the last 5 minutes. We have a very exciting season in store for ARL. If you were in the kickoff stream a couple weeks ago, you already know we've got new bumper rules, new awards, pit judging, stream upgrades, and more. You can follow all the excitement here at twitch.tv /Arizona Robotics League and Arizona Robotics League on YouTube if you miss a stream. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at AZRobot League and on Facebook at the Arizona Robotics League. We also have a community Discord forum for all things ARL. We have over 300 members, students, mentors, volunteers that collaborate year-round. And if you want the links to join any of those socials, the Discord, I'm sure those will be dropping in chat throughout the stream. So please keep an eye out. Also, speaking of chat, let us know what your team is cooking up this ARL season. And without further ado, let's talk ARL.
Hello.
I'm going to be joined here in just a minute by my co-host Luke.
I'm here.
He needs to unmute.
There's a... Oh.
Oh.
He. Hello. Now you can hear me. Everybody heard me for a second. Hi. You're doing such a great job at hosting. I normally am not nearly as good.
Thank you. My season goal, my personal goal, is to be more entertaining this season.
Well, so far you've already upgraded our Twitch stream from the usual me fumbling with the technology, although that's still happening.
Okay.
So.
Twitch chat is saying I am quiet though, so you ought to turn me up.
You're up as loud as I can make you. Okay.
Oh, sounds
nice now.
Okay, we can go with sounds nice.
Okay.
And I'll yell if I must.
Bet.
All right. Well, if you don't know him, now you do. He's our wonderful event director, Luke. How are you, Luke?
I'm doing okay. I'm excited for this weekend. Been out of town a bit, so kind of getting my feet under me back at home, but excited to come up to Phoenix tomorrow and start really getting things set up. We have so much new stuff coming this season for ARL that I'm really excited to get started. And usually the May event is a really fun one because it's maybe a little bit less attended, but a lot of matches and a lot of fun, or a lot of good like competition in playoffs.
Absolutely. I've been so stressed out. I know we've both been working on ARL tasks like just about every day. And so I think I have to keep reminding myself, okay, it's May, we can ease into it a bit. And I think we'll find our footing pretty quickly. So
yeah,
I'm
and we get a nice break after this first one.
We do. So if you don't know, the AC will be down at Cactus High School in June. So no June qualifier. We will instead have 2 August qualifiers, which will make for a busy month. But we all get a deserved month off in June, except only sort of.
Yeah, I'm hoping everybody else, I imagine, is still meeting or building new robots or onboarding their new team members in the off season. I mean, we're doing something similar. So, but yeah, I think that we try to fit in as many ARL competitions that we can. So we always start right away in May. And I know for a lot of teams, it's like, where was the break? The break never happened. Well, we feel similarly this year. We kind of all get one in June, but we have some other stuff planned for that. So so we won't be gone for too long.
Yes, absolutely. Always got something fun going on, especially on 498. I hope that all the teams are taking advantage of June being off to work on their robots. And speaking of robots, what can these teams expect in terms of robot rule changes this year?
Yeah, so I hope, we covered a lot of this stuff in the kickoff stream, and if you missed that, we lost the VOD. I blame... we phased out Slide Guy this season, specifically the slide part of it, so I can no longer blame a non-existent person. It's now just all my fault. So we lost the VOD from the kickoff stream. So if you missed all of that and you haven't read the rule book, shame on you. But also, you you should know that you do have five extra pounds to work with, just like the last 2 seasons, for robot changes. And that's really it robot wise. That there are some key rule like gameplay changes that you might want to take a look at. You might want to take a look at, and the usual ones are still there, just renamed because they're located in a different part of the actual the manual, game manual, and then very specifically the way we are going to call end game fouls. We've adjusted some things so that we're calling based on the point, basically the point potential of what's actually happening on the field, not just a blanket RP for any contact there at the end in the last seconds of the match. So definitely take a look there, and that may affect how you play, or how you strategize, or how you approach the end game portion of the match. In the past, even if you didn't have a climber, maybe you're playing near-ish around your stage at the end, because any contact there is helpful. But if that's not the case, maybe you play offense till the very end. You cycle. So definitely take a look there, and those are our big main changes. Definitely take into account the 5-pound one to reinforce on the radios. We are using last year's radio. There's no radio upgrade. So if you attended championship and you still have the new radio on your robot, gonna have to swap it back to the older one, and we will not be making that change during the season. So at no point are we going to magically team update that we're going to run the new radios. So yeah, that's basically it for robot stuff.
Yeah, and then before Worlds this year, we saw changes to the RP threshold, or the note threshold, and that has been reverted for ARL.
That's right.
Don't know if we hit that one or not.
No, I definitely did not hit it, but thank you so much for bringing it up. That's absolutely right.
I was looking. I think maybe he said this, but I'm gonna bring it up again because I wasn't paying attention.
Yep. So we're not, like, for our region, we think that the RP threshold is about right based on what it was during the regular season. So no need to have it be a very any higher number. So
yeah. We also have judging this season, which is super exciting. Judging will take place all in the pits this year, and teams are able to opt in, I believe, for pit judging at ARL. This will allow them to receive a specific interview and receive specific feedback on that interview, so that if they're looking to improve on their judging skills, but they don't really understand judging or understand how what they say kind of affects in line with criteria for an award, they'll have all ARL season to get feedback on specific interviews, and then they can compete for those awards at the ARL Championship, having received all that feedback. So we have a couple new awards. Some are going to require submitted content, so you're going to want to check out the handbook for all of those awards if you haven't already. And if you have any questions, you can direct them in our Discord to Kenny Anderson, our volunteer coordinator, or Brandon Rublar, our head judge. So I know they are both very excited about the judging.
And I'm really excited too. I think that it's really unique opportunity, and I'm excited that we're bringing it to Arizona Robotics League. It's really easy to go. I didn't our robot, we didn't drive it good enough at this ARL or at this regional. Between this regional and the next regional, I'm going to drive the robot, and therefore I will be better at the next one. With pit judging, it's so unique to a competition, right? It's not like you have judges in your robot shop, on a Saturday build day that you can interact with and practice how to interact, get actual in game, if you will, experience. So to be able to practice that at the Arizona Robotics League qualifying events, I think is a huge opportunity that teams should take advantage. It is, that's right. It's on the team registration form, so you might want to double check that you have, if your team is interested, that you've opted in. It's just like the judging opting in on the form. But yeah, I'm really excited about it to reaffirm the awards are only given out at the championship event. So you're going to have, if you go to all 6 or all 5 qualifiers, you're going to have 5 opportunities to practice your awards or your pit judging with feedback at each one. So really cool.
Yeah, I'm super interested to see what kind of feedback the judges are giving out. I am particularly bad at pit judging from like a mentor standpoint. Don't think I was ever good at training it, ever good at doing it. So I'm interested for the students to take this opportunity to improve. And I'm excited to see just how everyone does. I think awards are my favorite part of FRC, so I'm super excited to bring that element into ARL.
I also think that it's a really cool opportunity for judges because I think that like for a lot of teams, if you only go to 1 regional, you only go to 2 regionals, and maybe you don't submit for impact at those, like you don't really get as much of an opportunity as you probably deserve to talk about your team and all the cool stuff that you do. So I think it's another cool aspect of adding judging at every event is the fact that like you can gas up your team and talk about all the cool things that you do that maybe you wouldn't necessarily get the opportunity to spread in our FRC community. So from a judging perspective, like I would be excited to learn more about teams that maybe don't normally get as many opportunities to voice what they're up to.
Yeah, I also think a lot of teams, like having spoken both to judges and to teams at events, there's teams that might not be going to very many events, and thus like their students don't know the difference between maybe a team attribute award and a robot award. So a judge might come up with a team attribute question, and the students are just going to talk about the robot because they don't understand the opportunity that they have because they can't quite read it very well. And so getting the opportunity to read what kind of different interviews are, or read how judges judge, like read their body language, read how they're saying, and think and critically think about what they're saying, what they want, will help them in their interviews in season. So
yeah, you don't normally get tangible feedback from the pit judging process, right? Like when we present for impact, hopefully we get our feedback on how the presentation went. But pit judging is a unique thing where it's like, I don't know if we did good, right? I don't know if what we said resonated. I don't know if I looked at my feet too much or whatever. So I think it's really cool. Very excited.
Yeah. And even impact feedback is extremely minimal. Obviously, impact is a pretty subjective award. I think that's right. Use of that word. So that feedback has always been pretty minimal, and there's very little opportunities in robotics competitions to get feedback on judging. I think across all forms of robotics competitions, I used to judge for VEX, and we were explicitly told not to give any kind of feedback. Even though like little small improvements would go a long way for these students, especially like not just at robotics, but in their professional careers and personal lives. So I think this is kind of maybe not a one of a kind opportunity, but I think in how it aligns with the entire ARL format, I think is super, super unique.
I would go. I mean, I think that the opportunity to build upon feedback month after month, routine like over is really, really unique. So yeah, really excited, really excited. So I know everybody's here for the competition preview robot wise for this weekend, but don't sleep on the award stuff. It's really cool. And we're starting it this weekend, which is a little scary but exciting.
Very exciting. So yeah, rules aside, let's take a look at our ARL May qualifier. We're going to go in numerical order here, folks. So we have
also registration still ongoing. So this is not a final list. Please, if you're still trying to work things out, you're welcome to register. And at this point, we haven't hit our cap on alt robots, which if you're not caught up on the alt robot rule and lingo, make sure to read that section of the handbook. But yeah, still opportunity to register. You can even register a second robot still. We still have plenty of space left, as we usually do for May. But yes, okay. So starting in numerical order for registered numbers. Kick it.
Yeah. Then this brings us to up first. We've got Team 498, the Cobra Commanders, your host team for the Arizona Robotics League. This season, they picked up 2 regional finalists, 1 regional win, a regional impact award, and a division finalist award at the Hopper division at the World Championship. Luke, what can we know about 498 specifically going into ARL? Yep. Yeah. Yeah, super exciting. Luke, you might want to speak up a bit. Twitch chats. Yeah.
Hello? I'm back? I think I'm back now. I'm so sorry. All right. Okay. All right, 498, we'll give the TLDR. Our awesome driver, Regan, has graduating tomorrow, actually. Congrats, Regan. So we have a new driver. The way we kind of, the issues that we had at the end of Champs kind of left a sour taste in our mouth. We ended well as finalists, but really performance on the field, we didn't exactly hit the high notes that we wanted to, both literally and figuratively. So we're excited to get back out there on Saturday and to erase the memory of some small errors we had at the championship.
Yeah. And up next, we have our next 3 robots. They're going to be coming from 1165.
That's right.
Nice, right? Not 1156.
Yep, you're right. 1165.
Okay. I have my notes. I have typo.
No photo. I wish you guys had a photo on the Blue Alliance.
Yeah. Upload your robot photos, friends.
All right. I turned myself down.
Okay. I hope you find a middle spot. But we've got Team Paradise. They went 20-17 this year. They won 2 Gracious Professionalism Awards at both Arizona Regionals. And they will be bringing 3 robots to ARL May. Of course, Team Paradise showing up with lots of robots. What can we expect from them, Luke?
Yeah, so 1165, they had a really good season. They took on a really challenging regional week 1. Like, not only was it week 1, but it was at Port Hueneme in California, which is historically a very, very tough regional. And like for 498 every year, it really is an eye opener of an event. And so after Port Hueneme, and I will say, like, shout out to them, like at the regional, they weren't selected for playoffs, but their drive team or their programming team and their robot were on the practice field at the regional from the second they didn't get picked till the second pits closed. So like tuning things and practicing, and I think that's really admirable, right? Because like the event is still going, so utilize as much time as you can. And B, it set them up really nicely to perform really, really well at the Arizona regionals, rank 3 at Air Valley and rank 13 at East, but making deep runs in both of them, right? So I really they have a solid center auto, which I think we're going to talk about a bit more later when we get to maybe the meta of quals and playoffs. But they have a solid center auto, 3 to 4. And then they had some stuff cooking on the sides as well, on the source side. So I think that their auto set them up well. I think, and I think their teleop, they really they did really well. Like they cycled fast. They were scoring easily from the subwoofer. I think maybe at the end here when they lost in playoffs, it was really, really close, right? These scores on the left are the actual scores, but I'm excited to see if they've continued to iterate on their autos, or they've iterated a little bit on where they can score from, or just their cycle speed in general. What's cool about this game is that so many teams can combo with so many different a variety of different teams and make a really strong alliance. So now 1165 B and C don't got anything on them. But I'm really impressed that they're bringing 3 to the very first region, or the very first ARL qualifier. And so we'll see if maybe they're last year's robots just for some driving practice, or if they've cooked up anything new for this game specifically yet. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. And up next, we've got 2375 Dragon Robotics, who made their first Worlds appearance since 2019 after winning the Arizona East Regional. So a super exciting season for them, and excited to see what they bring to ARL.
Yeah, the Dragons have a really solid robot. I think if you look at just where they ranked performance wise at East, I mean that was definitely the wrong metric to look at. They were doing a lot. Their team understands kind of what you show on the field. You show what you think you might be picked for. And so I was impressed, at East with their commitment to kind of even if it doesn't reflect well in our numbers, we're going to perform on the field what we think we'll do in playoffs. And I think that mindset led them really well in their division at Worlds. I know that they were scoring in the amp faster, and if anything's for certain, I think we'll see a amping play a really pivotal role this coming weekend. So Dragons, I'm excited to see, and they're driven really well, so just more time on the sticks. I'm excited to see them this weekend.
Absolutely. I remember overhearing at East, teams looking at the rankings and being like, they were ranked last. Why did they get picked? And it's it really emphasizes how important scouting is, and how important teams not kind of letting the rank get to them, because they probably could have let that deter them, knock their confidence going into playoffs, but they shook it off. They knew what they were capable of, and that really worked in their favor. So
yeah, and I mean a solid one-piece auto or multiple-piece auto, and the ability to score in the amp might fit an alliance really well this weekend. So I think they could be sneaky again. So keep an eye on them for sure.
Yep. We're also going to be joined this weekend by 2403 Plasma Robotics. They were just sort of making Worlds with a regional finalist at the Las Vegas Regional, as well as a quality award.
That's a good photo.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, 2403, excellent season. I mean, honestly, some of their matches at the Vegas Regional was some of the best scoring that I've seen from distance, and certainly I think that they're right up there with probably the best distant score, actually just flat out score. They're probably the best that I've seen in Arizona. Um, they when their turret is tuned and they're hitting these long shots from pretty much anywhere on the field, it's really something cool to see. So I'm actually really excited. Plasma doesn't miss the World Championship very often, and so they've had more time than usual, kind of to work on things. And I think that the biggest thing missing in their game was a dominant presence at the amp. Like where they could confidently score at the amp at will. And I think that if they can add that tool to their arsenal, that they're really good. And again, a solid multiple piece auto, and they paired really well with a full field cycler in 687 at the Vegas Regional, making it to finals. So they have the experience. They're one of our perennial powerhouse ARL teams and Arizona teams. So I think that they're going to come out full force this weekend. And if they've added a consistent or fast amping of some kind, then they're my team to watch for sure. Number one.
Yeah, I also think the passing strategy that kind of emerged in later parts of this season might benefit them a lot, especially if they're paired with a really good amping and cleanup team. So if they haven't quite got that amp figured out, I think they'll be able to definitely put up some high scores with passing potentially as a strategy. So yeah,
they're one of the rare, not rare, but a lot of the high scoring teams in Arizona kind of fell back often on we're just going to cycle right to the subwoofer, and Plasma is really good at not being defended by the big wall. Right, they can shoot from further back, so that just a big blocking wall isn't going to deter them very much. So I think I'm looking forward to seeing what they have. They're definitely a team to watch for sure.
Yeah, and moving right along, you're just speaking of excellent seasons. Up next we have newly inducted Hall of Fame team 2486 the Coconuts.
Oh yeah.
They picked up the regional impact win, I believe regional engineering inspiration. Obviously that they picked up that impact finalist at Worlds, and that all culminated in winning Hall of Fame. So super excited for them, and really excited to see them compete at ARL and continue to have that positive presence in the community.
Yeah, another team that we're used to seeing, atop the ARL rankings and in late during the ARL playoffs. Coconuts, they had a weird bout with radio issues plague them during the regular season, and which is a shame, because when everything was working and connected, obviously, the thing can, their robot can cook, right? It scores in the amp, it scores high easily. I think that it's another robot, like you brought up, potentially a passing strategy. I think if the Coconuts are being fed really quickly in a corner, they can do a lot of damage, because they amp one of the fastest that we've talked about so far, and I think that sets you up well for being the team receiving the notes, and so maybe not having to cycle the full field and just being able to work within their zone benefits them a lot. Their robot is one mechanism, basically can do everything, right? Their intake is also their shooter, which is also their amp scoring, which is really cool. But the more impact that can take, right? The more full field cycling and the more wear and tear, potentially mechanically something can go wrong, and then it kind of it derails the rest of the match because like there's not much else that can be done, right? Because it's all one mech. So I think their key for ARL is going to be staying mechanically sound, and making sure. Obviously, I'm hoping that their radio troubles are solved. I know that they didn't really have radio problems at Champs, but they were using the new radio, so I'm hoping that. But I think they may have solved their radio issues in Vegas as well, because right, they did rank 3 and they were ranked 2 for a large part of the day, and they played with a really good team in 44-21, and they made it pretty deep. We watched that live in our ARL Las Vegas watch party, so excited to see. I didn't get to watch much of their division because I was obviously in my own division, and I haven't caught up. But I think I'm excited to see what they bring to the table. We don't normally see the Coconuts. This is a shout out. We don't normally see the Coconuts this early in the ARL season, because they don't usually come in. They don't usually come down. So I'm really excited to see them not only like registered now and early, but coming down for the May event. And fresh off their Hall of Fame, so it'd be cool to have our Hall of Fame Arizona team in attendance.
Yeah, super exciting. Up next, we also have a team that had a pretty good season. We have 3853 Pridetronics.
Heck yeah.
And they captained Alliance 2 at Arizona East, and they had a super. I think they were pretty consistently ranked in the the top 8 of Arizona East.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking, they only lost 2 of their qualification matches, so they put up definitely a pretty impressive feat. Obviously, it's tough to lose in a limbs after having such a consistent qualification matches. So I hope they're ready to pick up the momentum again back at ARL.
Yeah, Pridetronics had an awesome season from where they were at Arizona Valley, not like missing playoffs completely, to captaining the 2 seed. Captaining the 2 seed at Arizona East. Literally, it's not like this wasn't like week 1 to week 4. This is quite literally a week later, week 3 to week 4. Is really impressive, and not just accidentally found themselves at rank 2. Or as the rank 2 captain, finishing ranking 3, but they were cooking, right? The subwoofer cycling was consistent, and it was good. And honestly, if anyone in the chat was at Arizona East and paying attention on Saturday, you'll know that they were rank 1 pretty much the whole day, and it literally went down to the last match. Their last match, they were in fact they were projected to win. And they lost. I think it was an upset. Obviously, some robot malfunction type stuff, and that propelled Homestead into rank 1 and 498 into rank 2. But it was almost a foregone conclusion that they were going to rank 1, and who knows what would have happened from there. But I'm excited to see them back out there, and I'm excited to see them at ARL because they're perennially a team that feels like we're right there. The swerve module broke in that last match, so that adds up.
Yeah.
That adds up.
Yeah, last qual match technical issues is definitely, unfortunately, something that 498 understands, and that's always tricky. I always feel like those last couple qual matches are I don't know, it's always roughing it out.
Well, especially when you're rank 1, it's like, and a match where on paper, you should win it. It's a bummer, but I think that they made the best pick. They honestly at the 2 seed, they made a really good pick in 8-bit, and I know they went out in 3 matches, but I think that continuing to iterate and practice and driving, again, it's another team for this particular seat, like this game where, Pridetronics and another robot could really make a run in playoffs this year at a qualifier. So I'm getting more excited as we talk about it because, any of the teams that we've talked about could pair up and take the whole thing.
Yeah, I feel like playoff potential has our playoffs have a lot more potential to feel a lot more even maybe than they have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm super super excited for that. Up next we have 6413 Degrees of Freedom. They picked up a uh, regional impact award this season, as well as not one but two regional finalist awards, both being, that'd be the first time in program history that they got regional finalists, and then they went up the next week and picked up another one. They also grabbed a Division Engineering Inspiration Award this year, so they join 2486 in being pre-qualified for the World Championship next year, which is super exciting. And I'm sure they are looking to do, uh, perform just as dominantly at these ARL events.
Yeah, DOF. I maybe my favorite story, not necessarily story, but one of the teams that I've seen maybe take the largest steps post ARL era. I think that half of the battle in FRC is making playoffs, and then half of the battle of the next part of the battle is how do I get to the finals, and then finally it's winning the finals, right? And to be consistently there is really hard. But at both their regionals this year, they found themselves in the finals, both at Arizona Valley and Arizona East. And I don't think that's by accident. I think that they have taken a number of strides. Going back to last year, winning the ARL Championship. Um, they have taken a number of strides as a team, not just in their robot like design, but in their drive team and their strategy and picking their alliance selection. I think that I'm if they continue to take these steps like the trend they're on, it won't be a surprise really to anyone this ARL season if they're at the top or near the top of our ARL Championship rankings with maybe one or two qualifier wins under their belt. In terms of abilities on the field, I know that they have a really fast subwoofer cycle. They have the ability to shoot from the pedestal, the podium. Sorry, not the pedestal, podium. And pre-championship, they were working on and practicing feeding into the corner by the amp. And we've seen a number of really really good teams take on that feeding role, and it be the linchpin of their alliance, right? Be the crux of it. So don't be surprised if we see DOF pull out the passing this weekend, if they're paired with the right team. And if you didn't watch championship, or you weren't practicing prior to championship, you may not know that they have that ability. So don't be surprised when they use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Super excited to see how they do. They've I think hit quite a few program goals this season, and I'm sure they'll only continue to hit more. And up next, we've got 7703 Robo Bears. They only went to one event this season, and I'm really, really excited to see them making full use of ARL, getting started so quickly. After competing at Arizona East in week 4, they definitely had some time. Hopefully, they've been recruiting and working on their robot. What do you think of this team, Luke?
Yeah, Robo Bears are one of our perennial ARL participants, and I think that's awesome. It's pretty the team and the composition is one of the biggest reasons that we do ARL. Teams that compete in one regional during the regular season and may or may not make it to playoffs. It's a hard thing to continue to do year after year. So the past 2 seasons we've seen the Robo Bears really utilize Arizona Robotics League qualifiers to elongate their season and to iterate on their robot, and so I'm excited to see what kind of steps they make. They've made. Year 1, they won the Arizona Robotics League Championship, but maybe didn't take as many steps robot wise as they wanted to. But last year, think they started to really capitalize not just on being at the events, but to grow and to better their robot between them all. And so this year I'm expecting another step, right? That's what iterative means, right? That's what we're looking for. So I am excited what they bring out. I think that we don't have a large number of teams attending ARL this weekend. So there's a good chance we're going to see 7703 in the playoffs, and I hope everybody knows that and is paying attention, and I'm excited to see what they bring out.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, as this team takes their next steps, if they're able to gain some good momentum and snowball a lot of the benchmarks that they're hitting, similarly to 6413, how when 6413 started to gain that momentum, started to hit those benchmark positions as a team, especially at ARL, that really snowballed their progress in the regular season. So super, super excited. Up next, joining us with 2 robots this weekend is fan favorite 7755, the Phantom Circuits. They had a positive record this season, and they are bringing a second robot this weekend, which I've been thinking about the viability of a bucket robot as a passive defense robot. Maybe we flip it on its side and maybe it's a little more effective at that blocking defense. That's what I've been thinking about.
Okay. Yeah, I could see it. I feel like 7755 had their best robot they've ever built this season. It was a Quokka's style, big arm. But they were actively doing things, both in quals and they made playoff they were sub, and they were ready to go for that alliance. So I'm excited to see, right, coming with 2 robots off the bat, we're really seeing a team utilize ARL to the best of their ability, and if they've been cooking on things since their season ended, that's cool. I think that the Quokka's robots have they have a bit of a harder time navigating the field than some, just because of their large arm. But it's they're effective. Like they're effective. Like they were widely popular for a reason. And so if 7755 can dial that in a bit, then there's absolutely a place for them on an alliance in playoffs. And once you get that Quokka's head and arm dialed in, you're not too far off from multiple piece autos. And when you're not too far off from multiple piece autos, that means you're not too far off from controlling your destiny and ranking in that top 4, and being an alliance captain. So I think for them, goal wise, you got to take it one step at a time. And set attainable goals for each ARL comp. But I think if they do that, then by the end of this thing, we're going to see some really good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what a Quokka's is, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask. But I do agree with all the sentiments.
Quokka's.
I look forward to seeing them.
Yes, absolutely. Quokka's referring to the Robot in 3 Days build. One of the teams, one of the robots that was built was widely used or widely inspired a number of teams, and so colloquially we just call it the Quokka's robots. Gotcha. So if anyone in the chat is interested in that, they can go on YouTube and look up the Quokka's robot and then see which of our Arizona teams were inspired by them. 7755 for sure.
Yeah. Up next, we have 9091 Team AW, which is entering their 3rd year. They are, I believe, one of the teams, I don't know if it was 9091 or 9059, that competed in ARL as a pre-rookie. You'll have to remind me, Luke. But they're going into their 3rd year, and I believe I just saw on social media they had their end-of-season banquet with some of their friends from 6413. So that's super exciting, and I'm super excited to see them also, make their presence known at ARL and get a kickstart on the offseason.
Yeah, so 9091, again, one of the perfect examples of why we do ARL, competing at one event. Ending with a positive record, which means they were contributing to their alliance, but didn't quite crack the playoffs. Their robot is it is a kit bot. A kit bot, every bot type thing, the combo. So it feeds from the human player station, and then it drives over and shoots into the high goal from the subwoofer. Again, with the lower number of teams that we have, I think that finding a way to be a diamond in the rough, or finding your lane and really like getting good at maybe just one thing, right? Or setting an attainable goal, like I want to cycle 3 notes a match. Maybe not, doesn't seem like a lot of notes being cycled, but if you're cycling 3 notes a match and you're pairing with teams that are doing a lot, doing more than that, and those 3 notes are amplified, then you're really contributing to that alliance. So I think for 9091 to continue to iterate on, their season and their experience at the Arizona Valley Regional, and then figuring out what lane they can find where this is going to help my eventual playoff alliance the most, and then sticking to that in quals to get better and better at it.
Yeah, and I believe they built in every bot this season, so we'll see what kind of upgrades they potentially make to that robot this summer. Hopefully they switch some things up. I'm sure there's other teams that have built every bots that have made modifications, advantageous modifications that maybe they can take inspiration from. So. And last but certainly not least,
absolutely not least. That's right.
Absolutely not. We have our daily division champs and subsequent world champs in 9432 Team 8-Bit, a team we certainly expect to be dominating at these ARL events.
Yeah, so 8-Bit capped off an exciting rookie season with the World Championship win. They had, I think the robot abilities that they rode to their success during the regular season, they will continue, like those same aspects or those same things that they were doing are going to play heavily and potentially dominate Arizona Robotics League this summer and into the fall. Specifically, they're extremely consistent 4-note auto from the center subwoofer. That auto was able to carry them a lot for a lot of their qualification matches at Arizona Valley and through Arizona East. And one of the huge reasons that they were relied upon by 1690 as part of their World Championship winning alliance, that combined with their ability to pass the full field is really, really cool. It's really good. And let's not forget the fact that they can also score pretty much at will in the high in the speaker, and then also they can score in the amplifier. So they really can do just about everything on the field. They have that World Championship experience, that run, that working with a world-class teams, and you come away from those experiences different. Not just hardware different, or your blue aligned page being different, but you come away from those experiences as your team members are different. The way you carry yourself, maybe a little bit, you're expecting a little bit more out of yourself. You've learned what it takes. You've watched 1690 compete now with them and worked with them, so you come away not just a world champion, but you come away absolutely a better team. So I'm excited to see what they are bringing to ARL. I know that they didn't have quite enough time to bring their second, they're working on a second robot. But, as they continue to cook on their autonomous routines and the different things that the robot is doing, they're only going to get better. And so I think that, this is, again, one of the top 3 teams that you should absolutely keep your eyes on going into the ARL season. And I think that they, in my opinion, they might be the number 1 team to keep an eye on right now, just because that center auto is so good. And the points are so hard to make up that we could see them easily go undefeated in quals this weekend and take that top ranking before playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are our teams for the May ARL. Super, super exciting to break down all those robots. Again, if you are not registered, there is still time. If we did not quite get to your robot today, haven't registered, we will certainly cover all of the analysis this weekend on the desk. So
Mm-hmm.
please get that form filled out and let us know if you're going to make it. But, stepping away from the robots individually, let's think about how they all work together in qualification and playoff meta. Worlds, I think pre-worlds, a lot of teams and a lot of the discourse around strategy and meta kind of felt like the game was solved, but then all these different regional strategies and regional strengths came together at the World Championship, and almost each field had its own flavor um of crescendo. Like,
Mm-hmm.
every field was playing the game a little differently. So what do you think is going to really, really stand out in qualifications as well as playoffs here at this first ARL?
Yeah, it's actually kind of perfect that we it's actually kind of perfect that we ended the competition preview on 8-bit and talking about the auto, because I think in terms of the for Arizona Robotics League qualifier meta, I think that we're going to see who can work with their partners to have the most consistent auto, right? And it's hard because we haven't competed in a while. There's no practice field. For some teams who are coming in on Saturday, there's no practice matches. So it's hard to maybe dial one in. So it's like who has the most consistent one from the get go. And because I think that the autonomous routine is going to define a lot of the matches. At least we saw that at the regional level, and so the more, if you think about it, one note in auto is worth so much time, not just points. It's just time in the match to make up for that note. So I think that we're gonna see a lot of hopefully cool autos. I think that teams recognize that the autos are really important, but I think very like number one, whoever has the most notes from the center, I think that's gonna carry them a long way. Um, I think that we're gonna see hopefully the next evolution of the amp. I think a lot of teams undervalued it during the Arizona regionals. They weren't maybe scoring it as much as they probably should have in the long run. And so maybe now that we've had that experience, teams recognize that you can score less in the speaker as long as you're also scoring in the amp. And in fact, you could score less overall as long as you're scoring more in the amp, and you take advantage of that amplified period. So I think that with the lower number of teams that we have, there's a lot of teams going to play against each other and with each other a few times potentially. And so it'll be cool to see like teams try new things out together, but before playoffs, maybe if someone tries a passing and then they know that passing is not going to work for them in playoffs, and so that they really they narrow down what strategies work really well for them come playoffs.
Yeah, I think, the advantage of ARL definitely being that, you know, the teams that might only be going to one or two events can can test out riskier
Mm-hmm.
auto routines that they might not have in the regular season. And I definitely anticipate to see some improvements across the board there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we saw some blocking robots this season that I'm sure a few might, make returns at ARL, or you might see some in terms of BC robots. Um, but I don't really anticipate. I don't think passive defense super wowed anybody almost at any time in playoffs. Um, so I expect to see robots with more active mechanisms playing sort of defense in playoffs if we see any,
Mm-hmm.
or just as these ARL teams are improving, just getting triple offense like finals,
Yeah,
and seeing how
yeah.
that
The
shakes out.
playoffs are really interesting, potentially, right? They're potentially really interesting. Uh, the way like the meta had worked in the season, it was kind of this like, whatever the Ouroboros type, the snake, going in a circle, like rock paper scissors, checks and balances, whatever Lego you want to use. I think like triple offense is really powerful until you introduce two cyclers and a defender. And then I think that like passing is really powerful until you get defended. But like two cyclers and defender maybe lose a triple offense. Like I think it's like each strategy can beat another strategy. So like just because the world championship was won by a dominant defender doesn't mean that that same level of dominant defender is going to exist at Arizona Robotics League, or or it'll work. So I think like the dominant meta, if you will, is going to be like what can those teams that are working together, what do they determine of those three strategies is the best one for them. And if they pick the right one, then I think they're going to win. And if they put their eggs in the wrong basket, right, then I think it's not going to work, right? I think, and it's hard because like you're going to have to make a decision pretty quickly. Your third robot, do you have it play defense or do you have it cycle one or two notes? And you don't have a lot of data to pull from, and but it's really key. 3-2-1 did such a great job defending. It was Einstein defining defense, right? Like I firmly believe that they were the MVP of that alliance. And
absolutely.
They won because of it, right? Defense bot got paid significantly. But that's after many as you go through division playoffs and then on Einstein, you just keep getting repetition, practice, basically defending. And that might not be the same case for ARL. There might be a lot of teams playing offense that then get picked and they may be asked to play defense, so you don't get that same repetitive practice on your defense as you go to get to a point where you're that dominant. So I think that like if the right passing team can pair up with the right cleaning up team, then that'll do really well, because the defending won't be at the quality that it needs to be to stop them. But at the same time, all it takes is that passer to be slowed down, and then that strategy kind of goes out the window. We didn't see a lot of passing at all during the regional season, and that's likely because to do it really, really well, your passer has to be so fast, or you need two passers. And on most playoff alliances, like it just didn't break down where it was going to work. And at the World Championship, you saw it happen a lot because all the three robots on the field were like, yeah, we can double pass, and the robot that we're passing to is going to utilize all those nodes, and there's not going to be any slowdown. So we'll see. I think maybe a couple alliances this weekend fall into a trap where they try to pass, but either the passer isn't fast enough or the team receiving isn't fast enough, and then you get into this like we would just be better if we triple cycled or we double cycled.
Yeah, we saw at Worlds. I caught a Sabercats match, I think, where they were passing. I think they had two passing robots, but their scoring robot fell off in some manner, and they didn't notice, so they just kept passing without realizing that someone needed to change up the strat and clean up for that robot that was down, and that was kind of a detriment to that match. And that's where having really, really good communication with your drive team is super important. I also think a problem that kind of plagues Arizona teams that fall into defensive roles in a limbs is that they have super, super unfocused defense. And they're only at the point where they should like skill wise only be able to shut down one robot. But they're trying to shut down two or three robots and they're just not there yet. I know there was also a match at Worlds, I think 498 on Hopper played some really good defense, and that's not what I was expecting out of that match. But being able to watch all the teams on the other lines come from the other side of the field and just get just absolutely get their ankles broken, is so satisfying to see when you are watching a team that is capable of that. So I think for our defense teams, if that is what it shakes down to at ARL, really, really focus on who you're defending, especially if you're not at that skill level yet where you can shut down an entire offensive alliance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, I think they're going to do more harm than good, because if you're trying to shut down 3 robots at once and you can't even shut down one, then they're just going to get by you and score a lot. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like the value of 1 or 2 notes, 3 notes a match is like really understated, right? Like we had the last pick at Arizona East taking Dragons, right? Like the max number of notes wasn't very high, but it was like, yeah, like if we can get just 3 notes in the amp a match, like that's provides such big value for us. And certainly if I think that it was the right call, obviously at the end, but we could easily said like, okay, just kidding, 2375, just go play defense the whole time.
Yeah.
And for some of those matches, they ended up just getting it. Yeah, we're kind of like in the right place at the right time and did some good defending. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's going to come down to the matches are going to naturally just be so close. This game is really nicely balanced with like I said, or like we were talking about earlier, any 2 teams, a lot of these teams paired together are going to make like the potential for them to score well together is there. And so I think a lot of the time it's going to come down to who can make the call fast enough in the match to change it up, right? If like they're falling behind the defender, or if they're doing the passing thing and then the team getting passed to is getting overloaded, who can make the call fast enough to switch off, right? I think it's going to come down a lot to that, and then who between matches is going to make a complete strategy change or figure out like what worked and what didn't work for them. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes it's really easy strategically on paper when you're working with people that you haven't had a lot of time to work with to be like, just do this one thing the whole match. And then you only have to focus on doing that one thing and everyone's relaxed and you're good to go. And you're not changing anything in the middle of the match and no one stresses out. But this game in particular, it's really hard to go into the match thinking that like nothing is going to change. I am just going to do this thing till the end of the match. Because of how dynamic these strategies can be in the middle of it. So
yeah,
looking forward to it. It'll be exciting.
Me too. And I took this note midway through the stream. I said trap ? I forgot.
I know one of our team has a blower that I never got to see at championship because they were not in my division. So
blower.
Oh, you don't know the blower, is he? Put blow the trap door open. Like use air power. Blow the door, opens up, and then you shoot the note in.
Okay.
I know that one of our teams, and I'll leave who specifically up to the imagination. People will have to go find out at Arizona at ARL this weekend. But there might be some trapping this weekend. I know that of the teams we talked about, I don't think anyone has the ability to do trap as current like from the regular season. I know that the Coconuts do. I'm not sure if they ever hit it during a match, but they may have. But they have the ability. So I don't know how much trap we're gonna be seeing. But we might see some being shot in there, which is really exciting.
Yeah, super exciting. Well, that's all my thoughts. Do you have any predictions for this weekend?
Predictions. I'm going to go with the world champions. I think that the 4-note auto is so good. And someone else can come out with the 4-note auto as well. But I think that the experience from competing at 2 regionals and the world championship and division playoffs and Einstein playoffs, I think that's gonna carry a bit really far this season. So I think that they're gonna come out and they're gonna rank 1. I think that the other tools in the robot toolkit for them are really good. It makes it really easy to work with for any match strategy, whether it's passing or being fed, or I need you to amp, we trade off amp cycles or whatever. And then I think they go with 2403. I think they go with Plasma. I think that Plasma will have a 1 to 2 note auto on the side. That is going to be very valuable if you have a 4-note auto in the middle. And I think that Plasma scores from pretty much anywhere at will. And between the two of them, they probably amp fast enough. If 8-bit solo amps and Plasma just shoots, you're going to get pretty much what Plasma ran at the Las Vegas Regional with 687 Nerd Herd. So I think that those two probably take the number one spot, at least the number one seed. And I do pick them to win the overall event. I do think we're going to have one or maybe even two upsets in playoffs to get there. I even could see the number one seed falling to the lower bracket, but eventually I think they take the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
super exciting stuff.
Come back next week to make fun of me for being wrong.
Yeah, and I stay a hater of predictions, so I'll abstain. I'm sure all of our teams are going to do great.
Excellent.
And anything could happen.
True.
But this has been it, I believe, for us. So, yeah. Thank you for letting me join you, Luke. It's been since I haven't done this since 2022, I believe. So it's been a minute. It's been since the first season of ARL since I've gotten back on one of these streams. So thank you all so much for having me. A big shout out to our sponsors, Honeywell, the Diamondbacks, Cactus High School, the Cactus Robotics Booster Club, and 498 Cobra Robotics for putting on the Arizona Robotics League. If you are still interested in volunteering or competing this weekend, both of the forms can be found in our Discord, and the link to our Discord can be found in stream chat. So super, super excited to see everyone this weekend. Have a lovely evening, and I will see you guys all on Friday. Bye.